Toxic people are everywhere, at work, in friendships, even within families. They drain your energy, manipulate your emotions, and test your patience. But the smartest way to deal with them isn't fighting fire with fire. It's learning how to protect your peace while keeping control of the situation. When it comes to dealing with toxic people, the very first thing that separates those who get dragged into chaos from those who rise above it is understanding the difference between reacting emotionally and responding logically. Toxic people are masters at pushing buttons. They know exactly what to say or what to do that will trigger frustration, anger, guilt, or even self-doubt in you. The trap is simple. They create a situation where your emotions take over, and once they have that, they control the entire dynamic. When you react emotionally, you give them what they want, proof that they can shake you, that they can get into your head, and that they can manipulate the situation to their advantage. But when you learn to slow yourself down, pause, and respond with logic, you immediately take back the power that they tried to steal. Imagine a situation where someone is raising their voice, throwing accusations at you, trying to corner you into defending yourself. If you meet that energy with the same emotional fire, it becomes a battle of egos and no one wins. But if you stay calm, if you let the storm pass without stepping into it, your calmness exposes their chaos. It shows who is in control. Responding logically doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or pretending you're not hurt. It means you acknowledge your emotions but don't let them drive the car. You become intentional in your words, measured in your tone, and strategic in your choices. That is what toxic people fear the most, because they can't manipulate someone who refuses to be emotionally predictable. The smartest way to start building this habit is learning how to create space before you speak. When something is said that makes your blood boil, instead of firing back, breathe. Instead of letting your mouth outrun your mind, take a moment to think, what outcome do I want here? That one question shifts you from reaction to response. Toxic people don't expect you to think, they expect you to explode. They're ready to feed on that explosion. But when you think, when you choose your words carefully, you force them into a place they're not comfortable with. You're not feeding the drama, you're starving it. Responding logically is also about keeping your voice steady and your body language controlled. A calm voice in the face of chaos is more powerful than shouting ever will be. Toxic people want to escalate. They want to drag you into their storm. But when your tone stays level, when your words are clear, when your face shows no panic, it unsettles them. They can't figure out why you're not breaking down, why you're not shouting back, why you're not giving them the fight they came for. And in that moment, you've already won. Another part of responding logically is choosing what is even worth responding to. Not every insult deserves an answer. Not every accusation requires your defense. Sometimes the smartest response is no response at all. Silence can be louder than words when it's intentional. It communicates that you don't see the other person as worthy of your emotional investment. Toxic people crave attention, and when you deny them that by staying composed or walking away, you're sending the strongest message possible, that you're untouchable by their games. Training yourself to do this takes practice. It's natural to feel angry when someone disrespects you. It's natural to want to defend yourself when someone lies about you. But the discipline lies in asking yourself whether reacting emotionally will help or hurt you in the long run. 9 times out of 10, it only makes things worse. Responding logically protects your reputation, protects your peace, and protects your relationships with those who matter more than the toxic person in front of you. It allows you to stay consistent with your character instead of letting their behavior dictate yours. And when people watch how you handle situations like that, they see strength, they see maturity, and they see someone who can't be easily broken. Would you like me to now expand Keynote No 2 Tarn in the same 600-word Jefferson Fisher style? Setting clear and firm boundaries with toxic people is one of the most powerful skills you can develop because boundaries are the lines that protect your mental health, your peace, and your energy. Without boundaries, toxic people will take advantage of every inch of space you give them. They will test how far they can push you, how much you will tolerate, and how long you will allow them to control the situation. The truth is, toxic behavior continues not just because someone chooses to act that way, but because we sometimes allow it by not drawing a line. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, they are about keeping yourself safe. They are like guardrails on a road, keeping you from falling off the edge. And toxic people hate those guardrails because it means they can no longer manipulate or control you the way they used to. When you set a boundary, you are making a clear statement of what you will and will not accept. That could mean not answering the phone when someone calls only to argue. It could mean limiting the amount of time you spend around someone who drains you. It could mean refusing to engage in conversations that always turn into fights. Boundaries are not about being rude or disrespectful. They are about self-respect. They communicate to others that your peace matters, that your time matters, and that you matter. Toxic people will often try to make you feel guilty for setting boundaries because your boundaries interfere with their ability to use you. They might call you selfish, distant, or uncaring. But the reality is, people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries, and people who don't will reveal themselves when you enforce them. Boundaries are not just words, they are actions. Saying, "I don't want to talk about this right now," means nothing if you let someone drag you into the same argument 10 minutes later. Saying, "I'm not going to tolerate being yelled at," only works if you are willing to walk away the moment the yelling starts. Toxic people listen less to what you say and more to what you allow. That's why enforcing boundaries consistently is just as important as setting them. They need to see that you mean what you say. You can't control how someone else behaves, but you can always control what you allow and how you respond. It's also important to understand that boundaries are not about changing the other person. They may never change, and that's okay. Boundaries are about changing how you interact with them. You are choosing to create space where you can stay calm, stay clear, and stay safe. Think of it like putting up a fence around your home. The fence doesn't stop people from existing, but it does decide where they can and cannot go. Your boundaries do the same with your emotional space. They create a separation between what belongs to you and what you will not allow in. Another key part of boundaries is being clear and direct. Toxic people thrive in gray areas. If your boundary is unclear, they will test it and twist it. Be specific. Instead of saying, "I don't like it when you're mean," say, "I'm not going to continue this conversation if you raise your voice." Instead of saying, "I need space," say, "I won't be answering calls after 9 p.m. Clarity is strength. Vagueness is weakness when it comes to toxic people. The clearer you are, the harder it is for them to bend the rules. Boundaries also require courage. It's not easy to stand up to someone who has always gotten away with overstepping. It can feel uncomfortable, it can feel scary, and at times it can even feel lonely. But that temporary discomfort is nothing compared to the long-term damage of letting toxic behavior continue unchecked. Every time you enforce a boundary, you are building confidence. You are telling yourself that you are worthy of respect. You are proving to yourself that you have control over your environment. And with each step, you reclaim more and more of your peace. The most important thing to remember is that boundaries are not a punishment to others. They are protection for you. If someone feels punished by your boundary, that is a reflection of their desire to control you, not a reflection of your character. Boundaries are love directed inward, because you are choosing to love yourself enough to not let someone else destroy your peace. They are also love directed outward, because by being clear and firm, you remove confusion and conflict. You teach others how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you walk away from. Don't try to change them. Change your approach, because one of the biggest mistakes people make when dealing with toxic individuals is believing that if they just explain themselves better, if they just show enough patience, or if they just forgive one more time, the toxic person will finally realize what they are doing and change. That mindset keeps people trapped in cycles of frustration and disappointment. The reality is, you cannot change someone who does not see a problem with their behavior, and you cannot fix someone who has no interest in being fixed. Toxic people often thrive on control, manipulation, and negativity. If they wanted to change, they would. But since they don't, your energy is better spent on adjusting your own approach instead of trying to repair them. Changing your approach begins with shifting your expectations. When you stop expecting them to treat you fairly, to understand your perspective, or to suddenly become self-aware, you free yourself from constant disappointment. You begin to see their behavior not as something personal against you, but as a reflection of who they are. That shift allows you to respond differently because you're no longer chasing validation from someone incapable of giving it. You stop waiting for them to finally treat you with respect, and instead you decide how you will handle their lack of respect. Another part of changing your approach is learning to detach emotionally from their behavior. Toxic people feed on reactions, and the more emotionally invested you are in what they say or do, the easier it is for them to manipulate you. Detachment does not mean you stop caring about yourself or that you tolerate abuse. It means you refuse to let their chaos dictate your inner state. You can acknowledge what they are doing without letting it control how you feel. For example, if someone constantly criticizes you, instead of defending yourself over and over, you can remind yourself that their criticism says more about them than about you. Instead of absorbing their negativity, you observe it, almost like watching a storm from inside a safe house. The storm rages, but you don't step outside into it. Changing your approach also involves becoming intentional with your boundaries and communication. If you know that engaging in long debates with a toxic person always ends in manipulation, then stop engaging in debates. If you know they twist your words, keep your communication short, clear, and without unnecessary explanation. If you know they drain you in certain settings, limit the amount of time you spend in those settings. The goal is not to win with them. The goal is to protect your energy and peace while minimizing their impact. Sometimes that means responding with simple statements like "I disagree" and leaving it at that. Sometimes it means choosing silence over defending yourself. Sometimes it means walking away before the argument even begins. Each adjustment is a way of changing your approach to make their toxicity less effective. It is also important to accept that changing your approach may create resistance. Toxic people don't like when their usual tactics stop working. They may become louder, more dramatic, or more manipulative in response. This is where your consistency matters most. You cannot give in the moment they push harder, because that only teaches them that persistence will break you. Instead, you hold your line, you stay calm, and you remind yourself that you're not trying to change them, you're changing you. Over time, they either adapt to your new approach or reveal themselves in ways that make it easier for you to distance yourself further. Changing your approach is really about taking responsibility for what you can control. You can't control their words, their mood, or their behavior, but you can control your reactions, your decisions, and your mindset. That shift gives you freedom. It means you no longer have to wait for someone else to change in order for you to find peace. You create peace on your own terms. You no longer need their approval to feel confident. You no longer need their cooperation to feel in control. You start focusing on what you can influence, which is always your own actions. That's where your power lies, not in changing someone else, but in changing how you deal with them. At the end of the day, trying to change toxic people is like trying to teach a storm not to rain. You can exhaust yourself trying, but it won't stop the storm. What you can do, however, is grab an umbrella, step under shelter, or change your route so that the rain doesn't soak you. That is what changing your approach looks like. It's choosing the smarter, calmer, more self-protective path. It's refusing to fight a battle you can never win, and instead focusing on the areas where you can win: your peace, your mindset, and your response. Protect your energy, not their opinion. because when you deal with toxic people, one of the greatest traps you can fall into is trying to change the way they see you. You spend your time explaining yourself, defending your choices, or justifying your actions, hoping that eventually they'll understand or finally agree with you. But toxic people rarely want understanding. They want control. They twist words, they exaggerate, they minimize, and no matter how carefully you try to explain, they will always find a way to make you look like the problem. That is why protecting your energy matters more than winning their approval. Their opinion of you is never stable and it's never honest, so letting it dictate your peace is handing over your power. Your energy is one of the most valuable resources you have. It fuels your focus, your mood, your relationships, and your overall well-being. When you let toxic people drain that energy by constantly worrying about what they think of you, you are wasting the very resource you need to live a healthy and balanced life. Protecting your energy means recognizing that their opinion is not a reflection of your worth. It means learning to detach your sense of value from their approval. Toxic people will call you selfish when you set boundaries. They will call you dramatic when you express your feelings. They will call you weak when you choose peace over fighting. But none of those opinions are truth. They are weapons designed to pull you back into their control. Protecting your energy requires learning when to engage and when to walk away. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every comment deserves a response. Sometimes silence is stronger than words because silence communicates that you won't let them take more from you. Every time you choose to walk away from a pointless argument, you conserve the energy that would have been wasted. Every time you refuse to justify yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you, you save your peace for the people and situations that truly deserve it. Protecting your energy is about being intentional with where you invest your emotional and mental strength. Another way to protect your energy is to stop internalizing their negativity. Toxic people will often project their insecurities onto others. They will accuse you of being the very things they struggle with. If they feel small, they will try to make you feel small. If they feel powerless, they will try to strip your power. When you understand that their words are more about them than about you, you stop carrying the weight of their opinion. You stop letting their anger, bitterness, or jealousy seep into your heart. You begin to see their negativity as noise instead of truth, and when it becomes noise, you can tune it out, just like you would tune out static on the radio. Protecting your energy also means surrounding yourself with people who actually pour into you instead of draining you. It's much harder for the opinions of toxic people to control you when you are grounded in relationships that uplift you. When you spend time with people who value you, encourage you, and respect you, you remember who you really are. You remember that one toxic voice does not outweigh the voices of those who truly care. Your energy grows in safe environments and it withers in toxic ones, which is why it's so important to choose wisely where you spend your time. Part of protecting your energy is also protecting your self-talk. Toxic people will say things meant to break you, but the most dangerous moments are when you start repeating their words to yourself. If you let their criticism become your inner dialogue, you end up draining your own energy, even when they're not around. Protecting your energy means challenging those thoughts, reminding yourself that you are not defined by someone else's bitterness, and choosing to speak to yourself with truth instead of poison. Your peace, your focus, and your emotional strength are too valuable to waste on opinions that don't matter. Toxic people will always have something negative to say, but you get to decide whether those words enter your heart or bounce off your boundaries. The more you practice protecting your energy, the less control their opinions have over you. You can't stop them from talking, but you can stop giving their words the power to drain you. And when you master that, you find that your energy remains intact. Your peace becomes stronger, and their opinions fade into the background where they belong. Walk away when respect is no longer present, because the foundation of any healthy relationship, whether it is with a friend, a coworker, a family member, or a partner, is mutual respect. Without respect, there is no trust, no safety, and no real connection. Toxic people often test how far they can go before you finally say enough is enough, and many times they cross lines slowly, little by little, until disrespect becomes normal. They may disguise their disrespect as jokes. They may dismiss your feelings as overreactions, or they may continually ignore the boundaries you've set. The danger comes when you start accepting that behavior as something you have to live with, because the longer you stay in spaces where respect is absent, the more you begin to lose respect for yourself. Walking away is not about giving up. It is about honoring yourself enough to leave when the very thing that makes a relationship worthwhile is missing. When you stay in a situation where you are consistently disrespected, you send a silent message that the treatment is acceptable. Toxic people pay less attention to what you say and more attention to what you tolerate. If they see that their words or actions have no consequence, they continue because it benefits them. Walking away is not weakness. It is a clear statement that you refuse to participate in a dynamic that devalues you. It says that you are willing to lose the relationship rather than lose your self-worth. That is strength, and it is a strength that toxic people cannot control. It is also important to recognize that walking away does not always mean a dramatic exit or cutting someone off completely in every situation. Sometimes walking away means creating distance emotionally, even if you still have to interact with the person. Sometimes it means limiting conversations to only what is necessary. Sometimes it means refusing to argue when the other person is only interested in conflict. Walking away can be a quiet choice made again and again, each time you choose not to let their disrespect pull you in. Other times, walking away does mean completely cutting ties, closing the door, and choosing not to allow them access to you at all. Both are valid and both protect your dignity. The hardest part about walking away is often the guilt or fear that comes with it. You may fear being judged by others for leaving a relationship behind. You may feel guilty for saying no to family members who constantly cross boundaries. You may even fear being alone without the connection, even if that connection was toxic. But what you have to understand is that choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. Respect is the minimum requirement for any relationship worth keeping. And if someone cannot give that, then staying is only teaching them that you accept less than you deserve. Walking away also teaches others how to treat you. It communicates a standard, a line that cannot be crossed without consequence. When people see that you are serious about respect, they learn that access to you is a privilege, not a right. Toxic people often take advantage of those who they believe will never leave, who will always forgive, who will always explain, and who will always come back. But when you walk away, you shatter that illusion. You prove to yourself and to them that your self-worth does not depend on their approval and that their disrespect has a cost they are not willing to pay. There is also a freedom that comes with walking away that cannot be found any other way. The weight of constant disrespect is heavy. It drains your energy, it clouds your mind, and it eats away at your confidence. The moment you decide to walk away, that weight begins to lift. You realize that you do not have to fight for someone's respect. You do not have to beg for someone's kindness, and you do not have to settle for someone's mistreatment. You reclaim your peace, your focus, and your ability to grow without being pulled backward by someone else's negativity. Respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship, and when it is gone, the structure crumbles. You can rebuild many things in life, but you cannot build trust or love on a foundation of disrespect. That is why walking away is so powerful. It is not about anger, revenge, or punishment. It is about protecting your dignity. It is about choosing peace over chaos, self-worth over guilt, and strength over fear. It is about understanding that no relationship is worth losing yourself for, and that walking away is not abandonment. It is self-preservation.